Okay, good. Now, we're down to our last two. So, how Auburn sports student veterans? Paul, are you in here? Paul? Where are you, Paul? Oh, there's Paul way back there. I don't have my glasses on, bro. Okay. All right. So, how Auburn sports student veterans? Paul Esposito is the Veteran Resource Center Director at Auburn University. So, Paul, why don't you come on up? And everybody give him a War Eagle or something. Yours!
All right. Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Okay, first of all, let's do away with the Paul word, please. Nobody calls me that as my mother. As you can see by my picture, the one that they didn't put it up because this has been a very honest group. I sent a picture of a very tall, skinny dude with hair. So you get the real deal instead of the picture that I send everybody. But that is in fact me. And first of all, I want to thank you all for putting this together. Being a veteran myself, working with veterans as I do, and being part of this university, we are supported more than I can describe to you in the few minutes that I have. But we do represent a unique group, and we're going to go over some of that today. So thank you for being here, thank you for putting this on, and I think I'm about the last person standing between you and getting out of here.
There's one more. Don't.
Who's that sucker? So I'm in fact this person, Puck Esposito. I'm a retired naval aviator, 30 years. What brought me to Auburn, I was the commanding officer of the Naval ROTC unit and was lucky enough to get on with the Veterans Resource Center at the end of my time here. With me today is Miss Amber Grant. She's in the back. She's our senior certifying official, also an Army veteran. And together we, along with the rest of the staff of the VRC, do our best to support the student veterans as they come in. There we go. Before we get talking about the student veterans here, as I go through my presentation today, I want you to, at some point you can transpose student veteran with veteran hire, veteran candidate, because it's the same thing. We hire a lot of veterans in my office. We also hire a lot of student veterans. And what we do is help them as they go through their time here at the university. But before we get to that, I want to put you in the mindset of something. If all of you in here, I know some of you are veterans, some aren't, but if you can imagine walking into your office one day and your boss coming in, we all have bosses, coming in saying, we've got 6 weeks to pack everything up, get everything together. We're all going to go over to Afghanistan. We're going to be there for about a year. So get your life in order, get it figured out, get going. What do you think that produces to all of you in here? What would you first think about? Stress. What am I doing? If you have a family, what's going to go on there? Birthdays, holidays, if you have a spouse or children, what are you going to do? If it's just you, where's the dog going? What's going to happen to the car, the house? All those things. Okay, so you get that going, you get over there, you get into your routine, you're doing your thing. It's its unique culture, its unique language, its unique everyday evolution is something that is mapped out, something that you are working together with a large group, and you are focusing on your mission, your safety, your unit, and you're thinking about getting home somewhere at the end of the day. That's what you're doing. So it doesn't matter how long that time is, 6 months, maybe a year, you come home, what's changed? You, me, the person who went, who else has changed? The people you come home to. How about the place you come home to? Trees look different. Car may or may not have a few more dents in it. Dog may or may not be this big or this big. Dog may not be there. People that are around you are different. Their routine is different. You walk in and they like to do this, this, and this. You go, well, hey, wait a minute. Where do I fit into this? Where you been, dude? This is what we do. Either you get on board or what are you doing? Now, what about your routine? Some of the skills, some of the things that you did while you were gone can translate very well into coming home. You come back, you say, okay, I'm a little more disciplined, a little more focused, I do this at this time, and you can make it work. Now there's some things that don't translate well. I just caught the tail end of it when I walked in. Language, possibly an issue. Things that have to be checked. And I'm not just saying cuss words all the time, but the vernacular that you use. You know, you walk up and say, explain or VFR attitude. What's that mean? Who are you talking to? Or your tone when you talk to people in your life has to change. This has to change. Anybody who's a veteran, you get the nightmare. You go home to your kid, you go, listen, kid. He's like, what the hell is that? And I use this example up here, Iraqi roads. A lot of us, whether we're A or C, doesn't really matter, spend time some places, and you are either a passenger or you're driving a vehicle that looks just like that and places just like that. What happens when you get in it? You grab the wheel because you want control, you drop the hammer, and you are going from here to there. Why? Because that's what you need to do to stay alive. That's what you're going to do. You come home. I want to commute from my house to Auburn. I get in the car, I grab the wheel, I drop the hammer. Generally frowned upon by the local law enforcement. When you pull them over and go, dude, I'm just driving like it wasn't Baghdad. He's like, yeah, you're an Opelika, son. You're going to pay a lot of money to the man. So something as simple as that. And I want you to remember one thing here, or I want you to consider one thing. You are a young service member that just did everything I told you. And it is July, and you are sitting in the barracks in Yuma, Arizona. Come August 20th, you're sitting in a classroom in Auburn, Alabama. What happened in that month that you transitioned out? Where is that young person's mindset? You can substitute classroom in Auburn, Alabama for your office, whatever it is that you're doing, whatever it is that you're running. What are your considerations for that person when they come in? Part of what we do in the VRC is to help that transition. Well, we do a whole lot more. That's what we're going to go over, but we're going to integrate it to the whole thing. So that's the mindset I want you to take when we're talking today through everything that we got. Some of the terms, some of the culture, a little bit about what we're doing, educational benefits, and then some insight from there. I'm sure you've all seen this. You've probably talked about it a lot. One big takeaway from here is the percent of population that is on active duty. Very small. And also, veteran status, people are getting a little older. That includes me. You should all be familiar with this. I put this slide up here just to make fun of the Space Force, because we can. Nobody gets it. One person came into our office not too long ago, remember, and we just basically threw a party for him. He said, "What case I'm a member of the Space Force?" We're like, "This is great." We took pictures. And you go, it's his fault. I shouldn't have said it. Some of the terms here that we use every day: active duty. You can see dependents, our reserve component, veteran status. I know in general we were just talking what you were saying. This is me personally, my staff, and everybody we believe it. We don't care. A person went, and whether they're guard, reserve, active duty, served for 2 days, 2 months, 2 years, 2 decades. It doesn't matter to us. At one point, that person decided to raise their right hand and say they will protect and serve the Constitution of the United States. That's all we needed to know. They said at one point in our life, we are going to do whatever's called of us. You may not have asked me to do anything. You may have sent me to Tennessee for hurricane relief. You may have sent me to Miami for the same thing. You didn't send me to Iraq, Afghanistan, or some other hellhole. We're still going to consider them veterans. Whether VA does or not is immaterial to us. We're going to do our best to serve that individual because they at one time said that they would serve us, not their fault, throughout their career, how many times, how long, and where they went. So that's why we talk anybody who served there. A little different than the rules, but that's what we do in my organization. Most things that we hear in here, everybody goes, well, where'd you go as OIF, OEF? Those are the most recent evolutions that you'll hear from student veterans or people that you may or may not be looking to hire. If you're looking to hire an old guy like me, you don't even want to know. There's too many acronyms. So I've been around forever. And let it go. Deployment time spent away from the base. 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years, it doesn't matter. Deployments are different for each of the services. But there we go. Military affiliated, you can read it right up there. anyone who has been a member of. Right now, in my office, we are over 1,300 students who are using educational benefits. Of those, 300, 350 per semester are actual veterans. That does not count the actual number of veterans on this campus. The only gauge we can use right now, because some people have served, don't come to our office, don't want to know us, or don't have any interest, or don't have educational benefits. So we can try and find them and try to locate them, but those are the numbers that we're using here at Auburn on a regular basis. I'll tell you, when I took over this job, just about the time Amber got here as a student, we had 600. So we've more than doubled our student population and our student veteran population in the short time that I've been in this position. What do? By charter, what we are supposed to do is assist the group we're talking about, student veterans, with their educational benefits, and help them throughout their time at the university, be the liaison between the VA, the university, and the student. I tell you, that's what we did. We're pretty good at it. But we as a group over our time have realized that we were missing a lot. We were failing our veterans as they came to the university. And it started with transition. Again, go back to the mindset of that young person who was in the barracks in July and a classroom in August. That transition, we just treated them like a normal student. They don't want to be treated different, but they need different types of attention. So we provided something called AWOL, Warrior Orientation and Learning. We will take a veteran in and show them things a little bit different. Yeah, of course, they'd like to take the school tour, go around, sing the song, yay, rah, rah, that's great. What's important to that person? Financial aid, Veterans Resource Center, food, housing, where are my classes? So we'll take that group and do that. We got pretty good at that transition piece, reaching out to student veterans that were coming in and trying to get ahead of that game. So then we started going along throughout their time here at the university. You know what? Everybody thinks that if you're on an educational benefit, everything is covered, and it could be farther than the truth. There are benefits that'll pay your tuition. There are benefits that pay some tuition fees. There are some that give you $1,000, $500. They're all different kinds. So these students who come back to the classroom for the first time, they might need jobs. They might need scholarships, housing, mental health, physical health, all the things that they may have had access to while they were in. Now they're just standing here going, I don't have 3 cents in my name. So we realized that we were missing that. We started doing things like sponsoring scholarships, giving access to both medical and physical health while they're here, giving jobs in the VRC, working with the state, working with any organization we could to funnel money into these individuals. So then we were getting good at that. We realized, well, once that person leaves, 2 things. Adios, thanks, goodbye. We didn't look at the first destination. That's what we're starting to work on now. What happens to that person when they go? How do we help that individual get hired? And then once they get hired, can you get us some feedback to how we did? And then how can I hit you up for donations? Oh yeah, and I don't make that a secret, I tell them that. So we're just working really on that transition out of the university. How do I go from being a student veteran, getting back into the community, and working in whatever field it is that they choose? I'll tell you something else that's going to surprise about student veterans. When I took the job, I expected everybody to come in and be a knuckle dragger, go down to kinesiology, and figure out how to be PT. Wrong. We carry a huge, I think the majority is engineering, Amber, and a bunch of bioscience things that I can't pronounce. I'm like, you? He's like, oh yeah, my biosystem something major. You? Yes, you just got out of the Marine Corps, you can't tie your shoes. And they are doing very, very well. You'd be surprised at the STEM, the difficult majors that these student veterans are coming in and tackling. And they're doing it a lot, on their own. So this is, like I said, a continuation of what I was just talking about, where we are. If you ever get someone who comes in, and whether they're looking for you for employment, and they want to go back to school, whether somebody is currently in, they don't know what their benefits are, just send them to us. We work very well with a lot of the entities around the area, around the state, and we work with Admiral Davis all the time and try to assist student veterans in their needs, thus turning into veterans, also with their needs for employment. this is what we talked about. Just we have this hanging up in the VRC. It's very, very telling. We get a little again for this a little bit later. If you are here and you hear a veteran talk about their educational benefits, this is just a quick touch and go on what it is and what we do. These are just the benefits that we serve. That doesn't include everything that I just went over, but this is what they have. I know I'm talking fast, if that's what I do. Is any questions so far? All right, let's keep going. Here's the real meat and potatoes, getting to know the students, which could be getting to know your future employees and you as leaders. Try to think a little bit about who these people are. I don't know if I can get this hyperlink to work. Need the first minute of this. Okay, I'm going to take that as a no. Give it one more try. What's that? Yeah, sure. Okay. Well, if you could see the video, point is they had 4 or 5 veterans, student veterans talking about their transition into the university setting. What's the first thing they all say? I'm a little older than the average student. My life experiences are very different. We often joke in the VRC that there is our 30-year-old combat veteran sitting in the classroom listening to 2 students next to him talking about how they did the dad's Lexus and how they're going to explain it. What does it mean to that veteran? It's not being judgmental, it's just this is the environment that I'm now set in. And that comes with its own set of challenges. So where does that person go? How does he relate to a student here who has, due to no fault of their own, is 17 years old, sitting in the same class that he is? That's one of the challenges. Now take that person and put them in your department. How does he relate to those who complain, man, I had to park the library deck because some clown parked behind Sanford where I usually do? Does that mean the same thing to a person who just left active duty military who may or may not have combat experience? That was the point of that. They had 3 or 4 different people talking about their experiences and why they needed to find a connection at the university, why they needed a group, a tribe similar to theirs, which is why we exist. A couple of things I think we should know about student veterans or people you may consider. We are the most diverse group that you got going. We are the melting pot of the U.S. We have served with everybody from every race, creed, sex, sexual orientation. It doesn't really matter. In my time, it was from people from all different kinds of nations. They all came to serve. That's one thing they have in common. When they step foot on this campus, the other thing that they have in common is that they're all working to get an education in hopes they can better themselves and their families. And that is the goal that they share at that point. They don't see themselves as victims. They don't come in here and say, man, you should have seen what I went through. It's not about them. They see themselves as people who served and want to more than likely continue to serve in some capacity. And that's very evident from the minute they walk through our door. So don't look at them that way and say, wow, I feel bad for you. Don't. They can be very alone, just like I said. How does that 30-year-old veteran sitting in the classroom with that 17-year-old? I may be 35 years old and a veteran. I want to go to the basketball game and sit in the student section. Is that kind of weird? Yeah, it's kind of weird. I know Amber was a student veteran here. I don't know if you have any examples of that, but.
I would say having kids in a family and want to go to high school, and you're kind of like, I don't fit in with this group over here who's like 17, 18, 19, 20 years old, and I've got a 10-year-old and a 6-year-old, and my husband. So you kind of have to adjust a little bit from the standard stuff that as a typical university student would receive. You have a family that has to come along with you, or you want to do things. So the VRC is great when I did find it, probably my second semester on campus.
So how do we do that? What do we do to combat that? We at the VRC try to make that go. If you can imagine a student veteran, they get separated from their tribe right away. That's what separation means. And like I said, if you use that individual that goes right from the barracks into an apartment here by themselves, they don't have a lot of friends. So the VRC, we try to do is create that culture where that veteran can come in, find that brotherhood, that sisterhood, where it's not really about, we'll look at that later, it's not really about friendship, it's about mutual support. A lot of people consider veterans, especially if you find out they did do time in Iraq, Afghanistan, which not a lot, or not everybody has. Not everybody has PTSD. Everybody's, oh, you were there, well, okay. We're not going to say anything to upset you. You know, not everybody has it. Just be due consideration for the person, their experience. More than likely, you're not even going to know it, because not a lot of people talk about it. So they may have some residual effects. Some you can see, some you can't. But it's going to be hard to tell. The one thing about veterans, what did they never, ever, ever, ever ask for? Help. Never, the building could be on fire. They're going to be like, yeah, I don't know how to do this, but I'll figure it out. They're not going to tell you. They're not going to ask for help, especially when it comes to themselves. We've got this, mostly that top bullet from students here, or student veterans here on campus. Once people find out they're part of a veterans organization where they have deployed to a place like Iraq or Afghanistan, there are comments made, even here in loveliest, place on the plains, is that they ask me, well, why do we have these sports? It's stupid. Other ones have told us they've been told that you volunteered for this, so you're a volunteer, right? You went over there you decided you wanted to go, so it's on you. And then the last thing they asked was, did you ever shoot anybody? Right? Don't do that. I don't expect anybody here to do that, but it's some of the things that our student veterans have shared with us that we try to convey to the Gen Pop that, hey, that's probably not a good idea. I am old enough, if you look at that second bullet here, I am old enough to have been in the military when it was all male and through the transition to when I got out, when it was integrated male-female service. I saw the struggles firsthand. I can only say understand from my perspective as a person, as a male watching it happen. Some with great success and some with great failure and some with great challenge. I think, in my opinion, females coming into the service still consider themselves only about 15% that they got to be better, stronger, faster than possibly the males, in my opinion. The culture was that, and it was very difficult. So I think female veterans suffer a little differently, and their experience is different. And I think that we've come a long way and still have a long, long way to go to dealing with some of the issues that the female service members have had. One of the good things here at Auburn, we just started our first female service members group. Actually, they're meeting next week. They've had their couple of meetings so far, which has been outstanding. The other encouraging thing is, this is the first semester in 5 years I've been here. I have seen an increase in female student veterans coming to Auburn. Usually there's one or two, every like one of one. More than I can count. We're in double digits, which is very encouraging. And I'm hoping to get more here, and we can be a better reflection of the service here with our female veterans. A lot of times people talk to our student veterans, or you may talk to your employee, they'll tell you, yeah, I'll go back tomorrow. We're not that crazy. Nobody wants to go back to that kind of lifestyle, to the chaos, the war, the killing, and all that. What they want to go back to is that brotherhood and that sisterhood, where they know there is a group of people out there where they put the group before themselves, service before self, that somebody's got your back. That isn't found in all aspects of society, but it is found in the military. It's one of those things that veterans need. And we try to provide that at the VRC. We try to make that culture say, come back in. We get you, we understand it. So come on in. Yeah, we're going to give you a hard time for being in the Space Force because it's stupid. But you know what? You're going to come and give you a hard time for being a squid. I'm going to give you a hard time for being a jarhead. It doesn't really matter because we all know that if it comes down to it, we've got each other's back. We can make fun of each other all day. There's a great, I should have put that picture up, a great bit. People all laughing and joking when we're making fun of each other, and somebody outside makes fun of us. Everybody's laughing. Combat trauma is an injury and mental illness. One of the things we found is that we are trying to help with mental health support here at Auburn. There are plenty of opportunities here on campus. The facility here on campus has been very welcoming. They work. Dr. Doug Downer and his team has done some amazing things in supporting our student veterans. We also use the community state resources also to the best of our ability. Not all campuses will do that. This one does. I'm very pleased. Couldn't be more excited that this university will support our student veterans and their mental health. And it's a big deal. It's not as big a stigma as it used to be, thankfully. There's still some to that, but we've been working hard around that and made a lot of progress. So be cognizant of your veteran if they are struggling. You don't have to feel sorry for them, and you don't have to go there and go easy on them, but you can make sure that they know there is all kinds of service available on campus, in the community, and through the state, and encourage them to do it because it does make a big difference. It's made a big difference in the lives of a lot of our students. Again, just what I told you, they just need your support and understanding. And as you heard here, about the general saying that they are the greatest untapped resource. They got a group that doesn't quit. They've got a work ethic. They've got a drive. They've got a commitment, especially if they believe in what they're doing. And it is amazing to watch them work when they get out back in the real world and figure out what they want to do and how they want to do it. I get phone calls all the time from companies that want to hire veterans, just trying to plug. I can't keep up with the demand. It's a great demand because good HR dictates you want someone with a work ethic and proven leadership. And that's what we bring to the table, and that's what they develop. Here they get their leadership out in the fleet, they come to this, get their education, you put that together with a work ethic that's second to none, and you're going to get yourself a quality person. That's what we're working to build. Just make sure people know you understand. It doesn't have to be on the first day. You look at them, I understand. You're here. You're going to get punched in the face. What's really going to happen is for you to say, you know what? I understand, hey, you're a veteran. We've got some other veterans in here. I know there's veterans organizations on the campus and out in town. If you tell them about your great uncle that was in World War II, that's great too. You're going to get the eye roll. You don't have to relate. You just have to understand. And if you see something that's a little bit, go over and engage that person if you think you need it. Appropriate resources, you saw them on the last presentation, Journal put them up there. There's a tremendous amount of support through the state here. Sympathetic, understanding here, nobody expected anybody to be an expert. Amber and I, between us, we've got almost 50 years in the military, and we still, on a monthly basis, get a student veteran to come in and tell us something we haven't heard. That's both sad, surprising, and entertaining at the same time. Because we go, what? But it happens, and we just got to go and deal with it to the best of our ability. This is just a quick snapshot of who we are. We're not hard to find. So, I'll be around. More importantly, if you have the need for a more in-depth discussion of what we just did now, we also bring in some student veterans that'll come and speak to you about being on campus and being a student veteran here. We have some co-green zone training that follows this pattern. We'll come and gladly give it anytime, anywhere. It takes about an hour. So if you ever need that kind of training or you ever want to have that discussion, come on over and do it. More importantly, if you ever want to come over to the VRC, see the chaos that goes on in there on a daily basis. You're always welcome. We're in Foy above the Panda. That's the best way to find us. We are too small. Somebody here. Anybody? No? All right. We're bursting at the seams because we've grown so much and trying to make that culture to have our student veterans in there as much as we want. But you're always welcome to come by and see us and ask questions. That's what we're there for. So, with all that being said, you got 2 minutes for questions.
Well, for us that work with student employees on campus, what's a good way for student veterans to get in touch with us? Do they want to work on campus as well, or are they more interested in classroom and then transitioning to work?
Little of both. What they find is a lot of student veterans will come here and go, I got to get in this group, and then they realize that I'm broke, and I do have some free time. So we would love, if there is ever opportunity that you're looking for student veterans to work in a particular department on a part-time basis, as a student worker, just let us know. You may or may not have a person that fits. It's just working their schedules. Not anything we haven't seen or done before. It's just a matter of getting in touch with us and we'll try to make that work. Amber runs our VA work study program that the VA pays for so many student workers, but we're capped at that. So there's always people around. We find, or I found that our best resource in finding what student veterans need is just having them come in and on a regular basis. And when you find that one kid that's always in there and struggling, hey, do you need a tutor? Yeah, but I don't want to go to that kid. Go get you a tutor. So same with employment. We had our kids sleeping in the VRC. Going back a few years, he's always asleep. Found out he was working at the Taco Bell. I don't know if it's still open. Got a spouse and a couple of kids. Just flat out broke. So we tried to get him some scholarships so he didn't have to go to school all day and work all night. So just things like that. But with that, great success story about that individual. He graduates, goes to Huntsville, gets a big fat, what's it with computers, right? Cybersecurity or something? He goes up there when last year, just before COVID, for our gala, he went and bought a whole bunch and made a huge donation. Came down, was, him paying back. Just fantastic. So it was a great success story for that.
How many hours is your dream coach training?
One.
One.
But if you let me loose, you gotta go all day. I can talk to Don off of me, Megan. What other questions? All right, well, like I said, I really appreciate the opportunity to be here. More important that you're all actually taking the time out of your busy schedules to address veterans, veteran employment, and their futures. Because I'm telling you, the majority of them, you won't be sorry because they are fantastic human beings, regardless of their experience, whether in uniform. Greatest bunch of people on the planet.
Awesome.
Other questions?
Thank you.